Hello and welcome to today's Friday Facebook Live. Another Friday has come round again. Today we are talking about how is search changing. So if you have been networking with me over the last 3 or 4 months, you will know that I have been banging on relentlessly about how the world of search has changed. COVID pandemic, shops being shut, businesses being closed, all sorts of different factors have fed in over the last few months to a change in the way that the internet is being used, a change in who is using the internet. We've also had algorithm changes that have come out and then seem to potentially, maybe, been rolled back a bit, and then some more changes taking place. So just over the last 6-month period, there have been a lot of changes in search and search marketing. So we have 2 experts in search and SEO with us today. I will let them introduce themselves. So first of all, Mark, what's your name and where do you come from?
Sounds like Butlins holiday camp.
It's terribly cheesy, isn't it?
I'm Mark Preston. I'm the head of digital at Packing Group. We're the UK's largest group of independent opticians. We have over 100 different individual brands. I've been in the industry since 2001, built agencies up, run my own freelance business, done training, done speaking, done it all, packed it in to move on to the other side of the fence and see what it's like in-house. And I just love coming on events like this, just to share knowledge, just to have a chat with people and see how it actually is, and cut through all the fluff.
It's really interesting you say that, actually, because especially since COVID's happened, we all seem to sort of be operating in our little bubble. And obviously, you're reading articles online and, keeping up with how search is changing because of that. But it is really nice sometimes to just get together and have a chat and say, actually, are you seeing the same things that I'm seeing? Have you seen the same responses with your clients or your business or whatever it might be? Because sometimes you think it might just all be in your head, don't you? They are handy.
I think the problem is SEO is not a checklist. The thing is that I think about it as there's 2 sides to it. You've got your SEO robots, then you've got your SEO marketers. And if you're not in the SEO marketing mindset,
you just check in those things off the list.
People just use checklist, and the same checklist doesn't work for different businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We will come back to that. We will absolutely come back to that because that is a very good point. Simon Dolly, who are you?
I'm Simon Dolly. I am a director of GrowTraffic. I am a SEO consultant and marketer. I've been in marketing for about 20 years now. Just about, not quite 20 years, but just about. Done SEO for a huge amount of that time as well. We'll talk about search. I've also been managing PPC, the opposite side of search, since I think I started those in about 2007 as well. So I've a vast array of experience, both from kind of marketing, branding, but with a big emphasis on SEO, on search, and on content. I set up GrowTraffic about 10 years ago. Mark and I have been competing for various keywords over the years, including SEO Preston, which is one that he held for a long time and kept me at bay from for a long time. So that's who I am. So I'm from GrowTraffic.
Marvelous. I mean, I know I've kind of obviously I've been hosting these Facebook Lives for we've probably been doing about 6 months now of them, haven't we? But I haven't really ever spoken, I don't think, about my history in it. I've only been in SEO and search for I think about 5, maybe 6 years. And I, if you'd have asked me 10 years ago that I would, would you be operating within SEO and search marketing? I think I would have thought you were insane. My eyes would have glazed over. But I kind of fell into it by accident, and the more I found out about it, the more I liked it. So I have not got anywhere near as much knowledge or experience as you two, but obviously with running GrowTraffic, it's something that we do day in, day out. I've always come at SEO and search marketing from the copywriting side of things. So I was freelance copywriting first, and at the point that copywriting and SEO became much more fundamental to each other, that's when I kind of veered into the SEO side of things. So whereas some people come at it from a techie point of view, as I say, I'm coming at it from the other way, which I think means I don't have a lot of the more technical knowledge that you two have, but I have perhaps a different perspective, which I hope is useful at times. So without further ado, let's crack on with it. So the first thing is, in your opinion, what has happened to search over the course of 2020? And I'm going to ask you to answer that first, Mark. What do you think's been happening over the course of this year?
Well,
it's a big question, isn't it?
Doing search is a very long time. What happened yesterday, it changes. The thing is, obviously the main fundamental thing is the situation we've all just gone through. Is it has, especially for us as a group, is being a bricks and mortar business where if people have to physically go in, you then have to think about, well, how can I restructure the whole digital and SEO footprint to then generate income, generate business? People that cannot come in because of the pandemic, then how do we do that? So then I set looking at the SEO plan, the search plan, the marketing, and literally thinking, well, okay, well, people, have brought the spectacles. Let's offer an online service. Let's do things. And I think a lot of businesses have been forced into change. That it might be something they probably thought about, down the line and never got to it. I think the situation we've been through it's actually accelerated progress a lot more.
Absolutely. I've been saying that, like, the seal's been broken, if you like, because I think obviously the world has been moving towards a more online way of being for many, many years. But this has just been a massive catalyst for change. And as you say, those businesses that have been bricks and mortar businesses, so, cafes and dance studios and opticians and hairdressers and things, they suddenly have had to find a way of engaging with their customers still, making sure they still had a customer base there. And that has propelled a lot of small to medium businesses onto getting online, probably for the first time seriously. A lot of businesses have had a website, but it's just been a placeholder website, hasn't it? So that has been a huge catalyst for change that we've seen with our clients. Dali, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, COVID's the obvious one, isn't it? COVID is the big one that's changing the way we're all using the internet and probably accelerating it. Maybe we're 5 years. At one point we were kind of 5 years ahead of where we've been only a couple of months before in terms of the way that people were using the internet. People are going back to the office slowly but surely, and it is going to, we are going to see physical bricks and mortar shops open, and it'll, we'll see a bit of kind of regression, but I do see, those trends continuing in that direction. But I think that from a kind of SEO and search perspective, the things that are changing are the things that everything's changing, everything's going in the direction that it's already been going. And I'll give a couple of examples of that. So we had the announcement earlier in the year that Google was going to start introducing page experience as a ranking factor for from next year. Now, Google very rarely, if ever, gives you a 6-month warning on any kind of update that it's going to do, which in a couple of ways suggests that SEO for a short period of time is going to become that bit more technical again. The technical side
I don't know if you're going to do it, but do you want to just explain what that ranking factor is? Because a lot of people
I will do. I'll come back to that in a minute. So, and I'll explain why. But yeah, Google very rarely gives you that kind of lead on things, and this suggests that the different bits of SEO that are important, we're going to see a bit more technical SEO becoming important. The reason for that is that the page experience factors that I was talking about are all about, really, they're about speed. They're about user experience, but they're about how quickly you can deliver the content that's on a website to a user. Some of that is important because of mobiles. Some of that's important because of the internet in general is getting faster, and people aren't as willing to wait for content to load as they used to be. So you get a better experience that way. But also you've got to think about it from Google's perspective as well, that they have huge data centers out there that consume massive amounts of electricity to kind of crawl and index the web. So they are trying everything they can do to speed things up. I've also seen that they seem to be reducing the amount of things that they're keeping in their index, which is an interesting position. I think some of this is to do with the kind of advent of content marketing. There is just so much content being created and put out there that I can't imagine how Google can possibly, how much it must cost Google to index the internet, to crawl the internet, to index it, to consume that much content all the time. And they must be thinking of ways in order, to reduce their consumption and reduce their spend, especially at times where they've had a reduction in advertising spend during the COVID period. They already have a kind of, although their spend itself, the kind of income that they generate from advertising hasn't decreased, they were starting to slow down because of the impact of mobile phones and things like that. So I think all these things have to be factored when you think about what Google's up to. I always think about Google's commercial, really, because that often drives what they do. Just one other thing, and then the other big thing was the May update, in which we saw a lot of kind of websites that weren't as authoritative being losing their rankings a little bit. We saw a dramatic increase in across the board of all of ourselves and all the clients that we produce really great content for. And then we saw a bit of a rebalancing in June or so. And so I think that's coming. But like I say, this is really just a continuation of an existing trend. Moving towards those EAT standards, page experience being about speed. It's all going in the same direction.
Okay, so once again, you've answered all of my questions that I had for the session in the first 5 minutes.
Should we get some fun?
Let's just roll it back a bit. Let's roll it back a bit and unpick some of that. So we don't need the 10-minute monologues, right? First things first.
I read the first and second question that you sent through, and I did it again. I'm sorry.
Right, Mark. How has your business, your company that you work for at the moment, how has that changed over the last kind of 8 months since lockdown, and what new things has it had to do online? So obviously you say you've gone from having bricks and mortar shops. What were those new features that you introduced that would help the website through this and help your customers?
It's important to first understand that the model of the business is we purchase independent opticians. That hasn't stopped. So as we've gone through, we are still purchasing new opticians up and down the country into the group. And our team, the steam coming out of the SEO people, that it's still that continuous growth, but we've not only had to carry on doing as day-to-day growth plan, but we've had to relook at all those existing ones. And one of the things that we come up with was creating an online catalogue. So it's like we built and featured an online catalogue for sunglasses and a range of spectacles. If people have brought the spectacles, they can come on. There's a video consultation there where they can chat to their optician, and together then we can arrange to post it out because we've already got your prescription. That has worked very well. That has allowed us to still generate income as a business. So the teams had to do all that on as normal day-to-day growth plan. And I think, but now moving forward in a crazy thinking way, it will never go back to what it was. Now, it's that, okay, well, we've got two options for a patient. We drive them to the website and, well, do you actually want to come in and see us? Or, we can still service you online. So even though we've been forced into it, it's sort of a good thing that, now we have that. And we had to do it because we were forced into it by the issue. And it's a case, you never sit back and just let a problem, exist. You always look for the solutions. And when I was looking at the organic part, the SEO part, the paid part, it's a case of the organic hasn't really bounced around that much because, we're always up there. I mean, I think this month, 64% of the group is outranking the big major brands.
Wow.
It's just that hasn't changed. What we have found that's changed is this pandemic has got other businesses not doing things they wouldn't have normally done. So there's a lot more competitor brand bidding going on PPC than there was, on search. And I feel that is, for a smaller business, is if you're already fighting to survive, if your competitors are trying to steal your existing customer base and the existing brand awareness you do, you have no choice but to defend.
And it's funny you should say that, Mark, because I'm working with a couple of, I've worked with a few kind of customers on a PPC basis as well. And quite a few of the bigger ones have decided that they want to go quite aggressively at this time by targeting the brands of their competitors and maybe even some of the smaller people as well. And it's interesting that, it's quite a consistent thing that people are talking about at the moment. More than they were before, because quite often people were a bit cautious about going heavy on somebody else's brand for fear of retaliation. But right now, it's something that I'm seeing more.
I think so. I mean, the thing that's driven, yes, the COVID pandemic has driven all of this, hasn't it? But you've had businesses, as we mentioned at the beginning, they've had to shut up shop or find different ways of surviving, and because of that, the ones that have survived and that you're going to see start coming through this are exactly those ones that have innovated, like you were saying, Mark. They've found a way of using their website or their social media presence or YouTube videos or Facebook Lives or whatever it might be to innovate and keep that conversation going and keep the business going and keep talking to their customers. Because of that, because the businesses have had to move online, we've got more and more searches moving online. So people now, they can't go to the high street, they don't go to the retail park, they're not sat in offices with their colleagues where they can ask them questions. They are going online to find the answers to things, to find services, even to get their new glasses, everything that they would normally have driven to a town centre to do, they're doing online. And because of that, and this is one of the things I wanted to ask you, we've seen in some of our clients' websites massive increases in search volumes, massive changes in the demographics. So, much older people using the websites, whereas before it tended to be the people between sort of 25 to 45. I mean, just on GrowTraffic, the people aged 55 to 65 doubled in the course of 2 months. So is that something that you're seeing as well? Is the change in, not just the change in how businesses are using the internet to get their business across, but a change in the demographics and the users and your website visitors?
Yeah, I think you have to strip things right back and think about the fundamentals here. And the reason the older demographics wasn't online before and they are now is purely because of lockdown. Not because they want to go online and search, because they've been forced into using Skype or Zoom or technology just to keep in contact with the family. Now that is the driving force. So actually going online and searching, it's that what's triggered the motion. And when they're coming online and searching, they suddenly think, oh, hey, what's Amazon? What's okay, and suddenly there's parcels coming through the door,
Yeah.
and they're getting more technically savvy because they've had to, and that's because of a personal reasoning that's triggered it to keep in contact. But then is the audience is obviously in our industry, in the optical industry, it's predominantly the elderly age anyway. Now, obviously, they couldn't come into practice, so they was searching online more, whereas even though the audience pre-COVID was elderly, it was usually the sons or daughters that were searching to make the appointment for them. Now it's them themselves.
Yeah.
So is the demographics of people searching have changed. It's because they've been forced into it, but it's because of a personal thing. That's triggered into doing, because the sons and daughters might have been saying for years, just get on, it's and now it's because, oh well, I was at my mother's the other day and I got my phone and had a video call with my sister, and it's like, oh, it's just little things like that. I think, oh well,
yeah.
And that's what.
Well, you see, I think again we come back to that seal's broken. I think now that they've got on there, I know people whose great grandparents have been jumping on Zoom calls with them and things. I mean, I'm a seroptimist, and a lot of the members in our club are over 50s. Some of them are in their 90s, and they've been jumping on Zoom calls. And again, I think that now that they've learned how to do it and seen that it's possible and it's easy and what have you, I don't think, you said at the beginning, Dali, there will of course be some slip back when people can get back to shopping as they used to. I think some people will go back to that, but I think many people now are online and realized how easy it is, and that's not necessarily going to go back. So, audiences, we've been saying to businesses that traditionally have been saying to us, my clients are not online. That's not primarily where they go. Now they are, if you're particularly like solicitors, estate agent, people that do wills and probate, all of those older people that focus at an older demographic who've been saying, well, our audience aren't there. Now they are. So, if you're a small to medium business, and you are not online maximizing your online presence, now is the time that you really need to start doing it, isn't it? Dali, what do you
I remember when I first started marketing, I used to work for a marketing agency that exclusively carried out marketing for commercial vehicles, for commercial vehicle industry. So for trucks and vans and things like that. And I remember we were kind of still doing. We were just starting to take marketing online, if you like, in 2006, and it was hugely resisted. And people always said, who'd ever buy a truck or a van online? You know, it will never happen. But you look at it, and why wouldn't you buy a brand new vehicle online? Especially something like a big investment like a truck. Why would you ever think that you'd need to go to a dealership to actually go and sit in one? Because it's just it is what it is, and one huge 44-ton Mercedes truck is pretty much the same as the next one off the production line.
And there's a whole online thing now that is around that, isn't it? You know, like you get these whole unboxing videos. There's a whole, it's not just the go online and order your car. It's go online and order your car, then you film it when your car arrives, then you put it on Instagram, you make a YouTube video about all your family going and trying the car out for the first time. There's a whole online world around that thing, not just the initial purchase, isn't there?
There is. Mark, can you do an optician's appointment online?
Yeah, we were doing it before COVID. We've always done online appointments. You know, that's the majority of people. That's how they make the appointment.
Yeah.
But can you actually go through the appointment process online, or do you have to go in and see somebody?
Oh, I see what you mean. What I'm going to say is you can do a consultation online.
Right.
And you can book an appointment to come into practice online. But if we have your existing prescription, we can even send them frames to you. If you have your existing prescription, then we can't produce a pair of glasses if we don't know your eyesight. So there is an element of coming into practice. It might not be the same as it was, all the PPE, the appointment took longer, but in that instance, it is. We are actually looking into maybe a virtual eye test, but people still want to come in to get their eyes tested because they feel as though it's like going to get your hair cut and going to a salon. It's two different experiences.
Well, this is all to do with a bigger conversation, which I don't want us to stray too much into here, but about how the high street is changing. If somebody can buy something online and it's a simple purchase, this is what I want, this is how much it costs, I've bought it, someone's going to deliver it, then people are going to go online. What they are going to go into the high street for is experiences and things you can't do online. So the high street is going to be made up of beauticians and hairdressers and opticians and all of those things.
But also local businesses that are really specific to that area, and that's what local businesses need to be thinking about, isn't it? How do they differentiate themselves enough that they can justify having a physical presence somewhere? And I'm sure it's the same question that you're exploring as well, Mark, with your
it's obviously local SEO has changed.
Yes.
To get the conversation onto the SEO side is local SEO has changed. Now we get a lot more traffic through Google My Business than we do organically.
Yeah.
Your Google My Business is not up there in the 3-pack, then you're losing out big time on an organic perspective, and that's how things are changing. And Google are getting a lot more in tuned with the location itself, especially from a local businesses and a local small business. It's you must have had it, Dally, where your customer say, well, I'm located in Preston, but I want to get ranked in Blackpool and Burnley and Manchester, everywhere. But you said you're actually in Preston. Now, the thing is, it's hard enough to compete in the area you're in. Now, unless you've got a major investment capital to actually expand outside that area, that's where you are. That's your target audience.
Yeah, I mean, originally Google.co was just one version of Google.co.uk, and since mobile phones have come out, it makes so much sense that Google have broken it out and made it more local, because they're trying to deliver results that reflect the location that people are in, and therefore, reflect the businesses that you presume that most people would be going for. We've got customers right now who are trying to compete in different areas from where they actually trade from, and we're trying all different kinds of things. But like I say, I mean, even where they're in the same area, there's only 3 spots under that Google Maps box, isn't there? And it's tricky enough to get in there. I do think that Google's got some catching up to do, and I know that they were trying some stuff over the last month or so in terms of how they present the GMB listings that possibly didn't go quite to the plan. But yeah, they've got some work to go on that, because you can still create microsites and get them to rank using little bits of exact match domains and things like that.
We are leading on to the next thing that I want to talk about, really. So, we've talked about kind of how more businesses have got online and how they've been changing. And we've talked about how more people are online searching for businesses now. How, and Dali, you already talked about this a little bit, so I want to unpick it a bit. How do you think, obviously, over the last few months, it seems as though Google has been trying things, rolling things out, maybe rolling it back. There's been anomalies, there's been all sorts of things going on. How do you think they are responding to this change, to the fact that more businesses are online and there are more people searching for those businesses online? You've already mentioned the page experience, Dali. Do you want to explain what page experience is for non-SEOers and why that matters?
Well, yeah, it's really simple. It's the speed at which the page loads. That's the easiest way to think about it. The speed at which the page loads for the visitor. That's the page experience factors. They break it down into 3 different areas, and it relates to 3 different kinds of ways that the page loads. But if you just want to think about it really simply, it's the speed at which the content is loaded on the page, and that is. But to go back to the question that I think you were asking a bit earlier, about what, Google trying all these things out, I think we've also got to remember that Google isn't used to having this much activity through their system. So they're suddenly getting additional data points, doing things that they didn't normally do, which changes the way that I'm going to say algorithm, and algorithm isn't right, but changes the way that their algorithm works. We've got to stop talking about algorithms and thinking about algorithms. We should be thinking about kind of machine learning, really. But yeah, so they're reacting to the changing environment, and some of the things that they've put live obviously haven't worked. I think there was something that went live on, I think it was something like the 12th of August that made all the great websites out there tank.
Yeah.
Everything dropped by about 20 spots for a day. Well,
we had a little panic then, didn't we?
Sorry?
I was a little bit of panic.
I spotted it in the morning, and I thought I'd leave it, but I think it was by about 3 in the afternoon they'd fixed it. On that day.
Mark, I am going to come back to that. I want us to carry on talking about this, but Mark, have you seen any, with your company's website, have you seen any anomalies? Has it had any kind of hits? Has it had any surges? Have you been impacted by any of the changes that have been happening?
Very little, to be honest. I think if you have a solid ground and you're not doing anything you shouldn't be, then it doesn't really impact you too much. What it does do, it just knocks the people further down that hasn't been doing what they should be. I think it's all about getting that foundation solid, and there's so much emphasis on doing things outside of the website, and if people focus more on the organic, this SEO actually inside the website and the content and getting the user experience perfect, getting everything perfect, then that's what Google are looking for. Now, the better you can nail that down, then the better the foundation is. And then is literally from our group, we've over 100 different websites, 100 different brands.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, it's growing, at least one new in a week.
Wow.
Yeah, on a massive growth plan. And it's get that foundation right, and it doesn't matter what Google change, it's not really going to make a difference.
I mean, this is the thing, is it? When you ask Google, notoriously don't say what their ranking, as you said before, Della. The fact that they've given us an announcement that this is going to become important is almost unheard of. They've done it a handful of times, given us a warning, but they consistently say just have a good website. Just provide the content that your users need and answer the questions that they're asking. And so, I mean, we've got a poster on the wall that says we're not afraid of algorithm updates, because if you are doing it properly, if you are just helping people build really good websites, then it shouldn't be an issue. You only become scared of it if you're trying to cheat the system and you're using what SEO is called black hat techniques. That's when you should be worried, isn't it? So do you think we talked a little bit about local SEO. Do we think that is going to become even more important as Google, as the world moves towards the high street being a place for experience? Do you think that's what local businesses should be focusing on rather than the general optimizing, organically optimizing?
Yeah, I'm going to say from if you can't get it right on your own doorstep, how's Google's going to trust you to get it right nationally?
Yeah.
His doorstep, and that's the way I've always thought about it. So local, is where you need to start. Then prove the concept, get your conversions right, get all the SEO factors, get your website ranking on a local basis, then branch out nationally. Because Google, Google need to trust your brand, and if they don't trust you, ranking you locally, how are you going to get them to trust you ranking nationally?
Yeah. Just out of interest, Mara, when you say you've got 100 websites and more are being added, are these from what you said about the way you acquire independent practices, are these websites that you are inheriting that then become part of your network, or are you putting a new site live for each time you get a new property?
Right. It's all the thing is with the industry is these are opticians, they're not web people. So I'd say 98% of the time we have to rebuild things because it looks as though it were built 20 years ago.
Yeah.
The old buttons, it's nothing's changed, nothing's been updated. So there's an onboarding process. We have to rebuild it because we can't just run with that, because there's no resemblance to the business with the website. And it's very much you see the website, it has to be a replica of what people expect when they walk through the front door.
Yeah. So just thinking about how you do that, the audience that watch these are mostly small to medium business owners. If you were advising a local small to medium business owner, trader, shopkeeper, cafe owner on how to get ranking locally, where would you tell them to start? What would be the first stages you would advise them to do? Mark first.
Right. Well, first of all, I'd get them to sit down with a pen and paper and list down all the reasons their customers come to them, right? List down all the questions they get asked on a regular basis, because what I find talking to a lot of small business owners is they don't think of it because it's day to day for them.
Yeah.
All the similarities. What are the reasons? Talk to the existing customers. What it was the reason they come to you and not the other one down the road, right? Now, once you have all this on pen and paper and look at it, then you look at the website thinking, well, does the website answer them? Does it resemble them? If the website says, it's come to our shop and, we have bubbly personalities, well, does it say that on the website? Does it, reflect? And I think that is, from a small business point of view, from SEO, is I always, always, always say to all my team, ask yourself one question. By doing this, whatever it is, does it have the potential to turn into new business?
Yeah.
If the answer's no, then you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
And that, for me, that is the nuts and bolts of it.
Yeah, it's fundamental, isn't it? And this is one of the things I always say to clients that I'm talking to is, again, the internet, your website, it puts a barrier up. It creates a barrier between you and your customer. You're not stood directly opposite them over a counter having that conversation. You are one step removed from them. And so it's even more important that you get across and make a human connection and put across what the personality of your business is. Who are you? These people, the people who are on your website, need to know really quickly, who are these people? What do they do? And do they look like I can trust them? And if your website is not getting that across and not answering those questions, then they're going to click off and go to one that is. And it's a completely basic, fundamental point, isn't it? Explain what you do, why you're the best, why people should come to you, get all of that across with photos of your team and your shop front and what you sell and all the rest of it, and just inject some personality into it. But so often people feel that they have to be, professional, or some idea of professional, that just means they have this really bland website.
Just rip it all back. A business is a problem solver.
Yeah.
Right? If a small business thinks I'm a problem solver, right? People are coming to their website for a reason, right? They've got a problem, whatever that is. It doesn't matter if you're looking for a bag of potatoes to buy online, or you're looking to buy the next designer handbag. Whatever it is, that person's got a problem. And you are just a problem solver.
Yeah.
That's a really good way for a small business to think about things. Then list down, well, what are all the problems our business can solve?
You're absolutely right. My friend Chris, he always says that solve the problem and the sale is inevitable. And it's true. It's as true on your website as it is in real life, isn't it? We are going down a route. So in terms of kind of the basics, thinking about bringing us back to Google and what they're doing and changes they're implementing and things. You need a website. Obviously, you need a website. Would you be advising people, Google My Business, getting visibility on maps? Because Google My Business has changed quite a lot recently. It's got the opportunity to add posts and stuff, hasn't it? And I don't think a lot of people realise that, do they? Sally, you've been doing quite a bit on Google My Business recently.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That's Mark's right. You've got to get your website in place. You've got to answer those pain points, understand the triggers, do all that. But then when you're optimizing it, you need to be optimizing for local if you're a local business. So that's about getting the location keywords in things like page titles, and you might be getting them in alt tags and things like that, asking from a kind of practical perspective what you might do for a local business. But then, yeah, you're right. Google My Business, lots of local business owners, I think, don't even know about it. You know, lots of people see the maps and don't quite understand how they'll get themselves listed on there. To get Google My Business set up, and then something else that people don't realise is things like the photographs that you include in Google My Business quite often have bits of meta information within the photograph themselves that the camera adds there that often has things like little location signifiers in there that you can kind of adapt. Or if you're a small business, just go and stand in the middle of the town and take a photograph of the town or your shop or whatever it is, and use that on your Google My Business profile. And then you're right, things like the Google My Business posts, including location-based keywords in
It's
those.
almost like a little blogging facility, isn't it? It allows you to add a kind of mini blog.
It's like a social media platform, and that's the way that I think is a good way of thinking about it. Because in the same way you add a blog to your website, you put it on all your social media platforms, remember to add it to Google My Business as well. And I'm guilty of not doing it every now and then.
I know, but I mean, the thing is, it's an incredibly cost-effective way for businesses to get ranking locally. You know, ranking organically in the big pack for big volume keywords is a long, hard slog and can be costly. You've got to keep going at it and keep plugging away and creating the content and all the rest of it. Whereas if you are just a local business and you need to rank locally, you can do that fairly cost effectively if you use Google My Business as a tool, can't you?
You said something else before, Rachel. You were asking about whether you should start local first, and I agree with Mark. For most businesses, you should start local first, get that kind of ranking, then go broader. However, it just really depends on the business, because you know, some businesses, like maybe a software business, are a national concern or an international concern, and there's no need to ever go local, because most people wouldn't look for a local business for that service. So it also it comes back to the same thing again, which is understanding your target market, your audience, before you put anything live, before you put your strategy in place.
I don't want us to go too far down local SEO, because we've actually got another session coming up on local SEO, I think next month. But just a quick question, because a lot of people think when they're trying to optimize their website locally that they need to have different pages for every. So, for example, if they do gardening, then they would have gardening in Bake-Up and gardening in Stacksteads and gardening in Weir, and have different pages on their website. Is that necessarily a good practice anymore? Mark, I'm going to ask you this question. Would you advise that as the best way to go?
No. In a nutshell, if you've set up your Google My Business correctly and linked it to your website, Google will know where you are located.
Yeah.
Right? It's going down the old route as what were called geographical located pages is not the right thing. It just looks spammy, and it's not the entity. People know that you are located in that because of Google My Business.
I think it's a big misconception as well, isn't it, in the way people search. People, a while ago, and by a while ago, I mean kind of 3 or 4 years ago, we might have said, if I wanted a gardener, I might have searched for gardener in Bake-Up, because that was, the algorithms weren't sophisticated enough to know either where I was or where the businesses were that were near me. Whereas now, at all times, they know where we are when we're searching, and they know where the businesses local to us are. So they are going to show us businesses that are local to us anyway, aren't they?
I think what's changed is Google has changed. Before, going back a few years, before is what you search was thought as a keyword. Now, it's very much thought as a location. And that's the key difference. These updates that Google are doing, it's the way that they think. It's the way the machine thinks. And
the machine, that's the key thing.
The reason you could build these pages like beautician in Bradford, beautician in Preston, beautician in Manchester, and they'd all rank, even though you wasn't located there, is because Google were looking at those pages as a keyword, not a location. And Google has changed now. So they are looking at them as locations and not keywords.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that comes back to the point of we need to stop thinking about Google as an algorithm and start thinking about Google as, as that machine learning piece. It's a thinking machine that's getting loads of data points, and it's getting better at understanding what we want all the time. And that's changing. That's changing the SERPs, changing the way that we use the SERPs as well is changing because of that.
We're coming up. We've got 10 minutes left, and I have the two questions that I always ask, which I want to save time for. But before I get to those, I have two kind of quick questions. One of them is I recently have been keeping a check on bad searches, as I call them, where I've been searching for something and Google hasn't understood the context, or it's given me something quite random. And I've had a lot more examples recently than I think I've had over the past 5 years, and I've been collecting them, but I haven't got any of them to hand at the moment to give you an example. Have either of you seen that? Have you been getting poor searches recently? Have you seen any kind of ones that have given you a result that you thought, that's not what I wanted?
Yeah,
I have, but I think it comes back to kind of what we were saying, that there are so many more people. There's been more people using Google over the last period, plus using the frequency has increased as well. But it's changed the data set coming into the machine, if you like, and that is that is having an impact on the results that are coming out. But they'll correct that. I think I think they are doing. I think you've seen quite a lot that those mistakes have been those anomalies, should we call them, being.
I mean, a lot of it is down to. A lot of searches are predicted by what's called the rank brain part, which is Google thinking for itself. Now, doing that based on historical search, and as rightly said, is that's been tipped up on its head. So is the machine itself has to get used to, well, whoa, why are these big anomalies happening all over the place? And that's the area. Until we get back to some sort of normality, there will be some of this happening, that you are going to see things that you shouldn't really be seeing, that's not the right fit. So, and it's just about people's search history. The whole search has been tipped up on its head.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the one thing to remember, isn't it, as well? Like when you said there, Mark, about search will give you the algorithm. Google will give you what it thinks you are searching for and what it thinks you want to see, based on a whole host of factors. And if that data set has been turned upside down, I mean, for example, if you put anything in now about COVID or pandemic or coronavirus, even if that's not the main thing that you're looking for, we've lost Dolly, that it will just give you the same set of results. It will give you the government website and the NHS website, regardless of the context of what you were looking for. And as you've already said, it's those huge data sets. We've done there now. We are running out of time, so there is so much in this that we could keep talking about. I'll just add Dali back into the stream. Hang on. You're back. No, I didn't remove you. No. Let me just hide this one. So anyway, before I ask you my final two questions that I always ask, where do you think search is going, and what can you see coming over the horizon? Mark, I will ask you first again.
Okay, search is 100% going down machine learning. Is 100% is, there's no question about it, is it literally, the old AI and machine learning is far more advanced than any of us actually thinks it is.
Yeah.
They've a long way to go yet.
Mm.
You know, not going to be something that happens overnight. It's going to be a gradual change. And how that impacts businesses is they just need to get out of the manipulation mindset and do what is right for the business. And I think that's the big change is machine learning and everything is going to be a lot more sophisticated on understanding language. Language is a main entity, but with my very broad Lancashire accent, saying the same thing as somebody in America is, and all, if you think about all the different ways of saying the same thing in all the different languages and all the different jargon and all the different accents and everything, and a machine has to work out what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know, and that's going to be a main thing moving forward. But ultimately, stop doing manipulation and do what's best for the business.
Absolutely. And this is one of the reasons, as I said, I've come at search and SEO from a copywriting background, from an English literature background. And that's why I love it. I don't love it for the mathsy algorithm bit. I love it for the fact that it is constantly trying to understand how humans communicate and replicate that, and then give us information based on how we are communicating. And you know, and I just find that fascinating. I think that's really fascinating. And yeah, as we move towards voice search and all the rest of the way the world's changing, it's going to become even more important, isn't it? Dali, where do you think search is going?
So yeah, absolutely. Everything's underpinned by that machine learning piece. But I think that we've got to stop thinking about, you know, links is what made Google in the first place, the way it understood the link graph of the internet, if you like. However, we need to start thinking about connections between businesses, websites, social media, rather than links. And that's becoming the kind of important thing. That's going to be the new currency of Google. I think that they aren't necessarily looking for links per se. They're looking for connections, and we've got to get away from this mindset of thinking about domain authority all the time and what links are and all the rest of it. And that comes down to us again changing our mindset from thinking about algorithms all the time to starting thinking about Google actually trying to understand what's going on the internet.
What about the trend? Sorry, what about the trend of Google to keep you on Google?
I think that's something that's been happening for forever, for as long as I've been doing this. Google's been trying to keep people on their on their platforms for as long as possible. I don't think that's something that's going to change, because they you know, especially with things like mobile, they've seen a slowdown in the advertising sales because of the differences in the layout of the mobile versus desktop screens. So I think the more they can keep you on their platform to see those ads for as long as possible and give you a chance to click on them, the better for them, basically.
I mean, you can go on, you know, for example, if you're looking for cinema listings, train times, all that kind of basic opening hours, phone numbers, you don't need to go onto a client's website anymore, a business's website, do you? You get all of that information on your phone, on Google, on one thing. You can even phone through straight away. And that's, you know, I think particularly coming back to those businesses that are particularly local or are particular experienced businesses, that's one of the things I think they have to think about, isn't it? Is making sure that information is correct, at least on their website, so that Google can pull it through and it be there on the Google interface. We are coming up to time, so again, I'm sorry. There is so much that we could have talked about this all day. Actually, I don't think anyone would listen to us all day, but we could have talked about it all day. We haven't even touched on PPC, and I wanted to talk about that. There's all sorts of things I've written down here that I wanted to come back to, and I haven't. So we'll have to come back and do another session a different day, I think. But my final question Well, my final two questions, very quickly if you can, because we're at time. If you were going to point a business in the right direction now, where would you tell them to start, or where would you send them? Mark, what do you think? Are there any books you've read, websites, apps, resources, businesses, anyone who can help?
Right. This is a personal plug, right?
That's all right.
I recently started an event called Talk About Digital, and it's got it's got a YouTube channel. It's got a lot of question and answers in there from high-profile people in the industry, and literally, it's all about telling people how it is.
Yeah.
I mean that everything's double-checked and everything. So that is a resource. It's not a business. It's not profit-making. It's just a resource to help people understand the whole digital aspect better.
Brilliant. If you could will you put the link to that in the comments after the session, please, and then send people there. Thank you. Dali, what would yours be?
I'll give Mark's Tab Talks a plug as well. I watched is that your most recent video that you did with Bill Swarsky?
Yeah, a couple of nights ago.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed that. That was great. And I know that you've done you've done a video with Lewis from The Apprentice, haven't you? Who's a digital marketer looking to open a business.
Talking about TikTok, and not something I personally engage with, but
I've got a TikTok. I've got it installed on my phone. I'm desperate to do something with it. I keep watching it, thinking I'll do something. I never quite get there. So yeah.
Well, we have a 10-year-old, so TikTok. Yeah, we're very familiar with TikTok in this house, aren't we? Thanks to Leon. Okay, final top tip. If you were going to advise a small to medium business at the moment of what they needed to do, Mark, what would your one piece of advice be to them?
Think logically about everything you're doing online.
Brilliant. Simon Daly.
I would say don't waste too much time and energy trying to read loads of different books and spend too long trying to figure it out. Get on and actually do it. Create content, put it out there. Remember that the internet is changing, and we're talking. Google's looking for kind of niche expertise and authority, and create content that is relevant to your audience.
Yeah, and I would say get online. If you are one of those businesses that you think your customers don't come from online, that's not traditionally where you've got them from, that's not where they are. The world has changed and your audience is online. Your business needs to be there, because if it isn't, your competitors are, and you can bet your bottom dollar they are getting custom through it. So even if you just start small and chip away at it, get yourself online and start that process now, so that you stand your business in good stead for the future. That's it. Brilliant. We're 3 minutes over, but as I say, we could have talked about this all day. Thank you so much to all of you. Mark, please put your contact details in the comments box, and so anyone can get a hold of you if they have any questions. Thank you both for your time.